So yeah, I'm Eileen and I work for the Faculty of Graduate Studies at York. I've got a quick 15-minute presentation. We'll go over the basics of grad study at York, some financial and some admissions info, and then of course an open Q&A. So I always like to start these presentations, and forgive me if this is information you already know, with what grad studies is essentially. So graduate school is an umbrella that covers several degree levels. So master's degrees, PhDs, graduate diplomas. For a master's degree, it is the first degree level of graduate study, the next level available after you complete your bachelor's. And usually full-time, a master's will take 1 to 2 years, depends on the program. Traditionally, a master's will come in one of three formats, so coursework only, major research project, or thesis-based. So for a coursework only master's, you enter the program, you take a set number of courses, usually between 8 to 10. And once you're finished, that's it. You're done, you can graduate. For major research project-based programs, you enter the program and you take usually about 6 courses and you do a small research project. Then for thesis-based programs, you enter the program, you still do a handful of courses, but usually only about 4, and then a large research project in addition to those courses. So some programs offer all 3 options, others it's a choice usually between major research project or thesis, and then others still are only available in one format. Like the Master of Arts in Economics at York is only coursework only, or the Master of Science in Biology is only thesis-based. So once you've completed your master's, if you want, you can go on and do a PhD or doctoral degree. The terms are interchangeable. Full-time, a PhD will usually take 4 or 5 years. Sometimes it could take 6 or longer, depends on your research. But by and large, the format of PhDs are the same. So you enter the program, you do courses in your first, maybe second year, you write your qualifying or your comprehensive exam, and then it's years of research. So the amount of time it takes to do the degree truly does depend on the research project. To enter a PhD at York, you do need a master's first, so I'll really be focusing on master's admission in the presentation. So why would someone choose to go to graduate school? Everyone's reasons are going to be personal to them, but really we focused on 3 areas or categories of reasons of why someone might want to pursue a grad degree. Career advantages, so people who hold at least a grad degree have the highest employment rates of the population and higher salary rates within those employment opportunities. Personal advantages, so learning, growing a network, growing as a person, developing lifelong friendships. And really, grad school is unique in that it allows you freedom and self-direction that maybe other opportunities don't. And academic advantages about contributing to knowledge, creating knowledge, working with experts, becoming an expert yourself, and potentially focusing on research question that's really important to you. We want to emphasize that graduate school is accessible and that a lot of our programs are funded, meaning that you usually receive a funding package from the university to cover at least tuition. A master's usually only takes 1 year, maybe a year and a half, but ultimately between 8 months and 2 years. And then we do have a non-traditional admissions process for people who maybe have a lot of work experience in addition to their academic background. So for what we consider for the components of your application, grades are the foundation of your application. So when you're going from your bachelor's to your master's, we look at your grades in your last 2 years of study on your transcript at the time that you apply. So if you're in the middle of your fall term right now and you apply, we would be looking at your second and third year grades. If you're applying after you've graduated, it's third and fourth year grades. But yes, it has to be a 4-year honors undergraduate degree for master's admission. We consider college degrees the same as a university degree, and in those last 2 years, a B plus or above. Now, a B plus on different grading scales is 77 out of 100 or 3.3 out of 4. And again, can't stress it enough, the grades are the foundation of your application. Next, we look at your resume. So similar to when you're applying for a job, we look at your work experience, volunteer experience, research experience. Education will be on there as well, but your transcripts will give a really full picture of your educational background. Then letters of reference. So we require 2, if not 3, depends on the program. And letters of reference would be professional, so someone who's taught you or supervised, or sorry, someone who's supervised you or managed your work or volunteer position. And then academic references, someone who's taught you or supervised research that you've done. Then lastly, applications require a statement of interest, which is really like an academic cover letter for why you want to do the program, research that you want to do, faculty that you want to work with, and what you're hoping to do after you graduate. We have a really excellent video on our YouTube channel that I can share in the chat after the presentation. It's done by the Dean of the Faculty of Graduate Studies, and it's quite literally called How to Write a Statement of Interest. This, I think, is the graduate application component we get the most questions about, just because it's unfamiliar. You probably haven't written one for any other purpose. So highly recommend checking that resource out. Then, depending on the program, there are some other components you may have to submit. So for art programs, a portfolio. For social sciences and humanities, a sample of written work, which is really just a paper that you wrote in a 4th year seminar. Language courses, you might have to do an entrance exam. For example, translation to showcase French and English capabilities. But for the most part, these are the 4 things we're looking at the most: grades, resume, letters of reference, your statement of interest. Tuition. So right now, most master's programs for a domestic student, so Canadian citizen or permanent resident, is $5,200 per year. So that is $1,730 per term, because graduate school goes year-round. Fall, winter, and summer registration is required. International tuition is just under $20,000 at the master's level and just under $19,000 at the PhD level. There are some programs that cost above and beyond this, but this is the basic tuition amount. It is usually lower than undergraduate tuition. And paying for grad studies is a lot different than paying for undergraduate studies, because there is the usually funding package given for most programs at York. So essentially, a funding package is money given to you by the university to help support your studies. If you are a full-time student in an eligible program, you are automatically considered for a funding package. And I've put the basic amounts up here on the screen. So if you are a domestic master's student, the basic amount you're considered for is $10,000. If you're international, it's just over $19,000. So this is not money you have to apply for. You do not have to pay it back. It's not based on financial need. But usually there's no work component. Sometimes as part of a package you would be offered a teaching assistant role, but not usually at the master's. PhD funding, 26.5 for a domestic student, or just under 39 for an international. So most programs are funded. There are a handful that aren't. So if you get a funding package, great. Even if you don't, either way, you can still apply for scholarships and awards because they are completely separate from funding. So scholarships and bursaries that are available, there's kind of 4 main areas within this section where you can apply for support. So Current student awards are between $500 and $5,000. You can apply for these once you're a student at York. Federal and provincial awards, so these aren't specific to York, they're all across either the province or the country, but these awards can be quite large, like $10, $20, $40,000. So if you receive a funding package and one of these awards, you could be looking at quite a lot of money for 1 year or 2 years, depends on the award. The third kind of scholarships and awards, external scholarships, are basically foundations and corporations that run their own scholarship program, and you would apply directly to the source. And then if you receive the award, you would have to, study at an accredited institution, which obviously York is. And then lastly, there is needs-based financial support. So the previous three are really they're merit-based, grades and research ideas usually. For needs-based, you have to demonstrate financial need. So there's York Financial Assistance, where once you're a student, you can apply for it. Usually it's no more than $1,000 a year, but it could certainly help. And then all graduate degrees at York are eligible for OSAP, so Ontario Student Assistance Program, but that is ultimately based on your personal finances, so your income, dependence, all that kind of thing. But all degrees at York, you could receive maybe funding and OSAP, funding, a scholarship, and OSAP, so keep that in mind. Okay, so for the timeline of grad school, applications kind of occur a full year in advance. So for fall 2025, which is most programs only except for a fall start, applications opened October 15th. Every program has an individual deadline. So December 15th, January 15th, February 15th. Each program has their own deadline. December 15th is coming up quite quickly. Some programs that have that deadline are history, computer science, psychology, sociology, psychology, social work. So each deadline is different, but they are coming up and they don't allow late applications. So if you're thinking, fall 2025, now would be the time to put that application together. And I mean, attending these sessions, great first step. Decisions will come out between February and June, regardless of when you applied, because the people making the admissions decisions are committees of faculty members in your program. So they are gathering all the applications together, considering them as a group, and then making decisions. July and August, you would connect with your program. Usually there's orientations or social media groups for new students. And then September, school starts. So just a little plug for the Faculty of Grad Studies social channels, Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. I will, when I can find it, share the YouTube channel in the chat. We do have the How to Write a Statement of Interest, but there's also grad admissions by faculty. So like science has a video, health has a video, arts has a video, scholarships, visas and study permits, lots of info on there. But yeah, that's the end of the slide deck. I leave you with our contact information here. The email for grad admissions is fgsapply, F as in Frank, G, S as in Sam, apply@yorku.ca. If you've got questions in 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years, we're happy to answer them. So I'll take some of those 5-minute questions right now. And I don't know, Jennifer, if you're wanting to read them out or
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. Thank you
okay.
so much. That was super informative. So yeah, we did have, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to just post them into the chat. Bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that little bubble. So get that in there. And if there's anything that you maybe feel more comfortable emailing directly, that email address is also in the chat, the fgsapply@yorku.ca. But we do have a question. What is the application deadline?
Okay, so whoops, I'm just going to share a link in the chat that has basically it's the program list, and you can just search program by name and it will tell you the deadline. Oh, sorry, share with everyone. And it will tell you the deadline for that particular program.
Perfect. Thank you. Um, there is a question about funding. If you are over 60 years, is there any specific funding available for someone in that situation?
Okay, so the funding would not change, like the funding package is the same regardless of age or experience or anything like that. If you are a domestic student, so a Canadian citizen or permanent resident over the age of 60 by birth year, when you apply, we automatically apply a tuition waiver to seniors over 60 for one graduate program. So if this is your first grad program, yeah, tuition would be waived essentially. You still have to pay fees, which I think are $200 a term, but you would receive the funding package if your program offers it as normal, same as everyone else.
Cool. Can someone ask some specific questions about the computer science? I think it's the Masters of Science in the
Yeah.
MASC.
hmm
Okay, so yeah, you can definitely ask about that program. Just let us know what you want to know. Um, oh, that's a really helpful link. So anyone that's looking to write a statement of interest and not really sure about how you would go about that and how to structure that, there's a great link in there for your YouTube channel that shows students how to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, the advice that we give is meant for admissions at York University. Could it possibly be applicable to other applications? Potentially, I leave that with you, but it's a great resource for anyone considering grad school. I'm also going to share one more link in the chat just before there's any more questions. It is a web page that says, is a program funded, yes or no? So if if finances are a huge factor, this is a quick link essentially to see, is this program funded, yes or no? So.
Thank you. I've got another question. Does York offer part-time or online options to complete a master's program?
Gotcha. So no online masters. I mean, there's some exceptions in that conference interpreting the first year is online, but the second year is in person. And nursing is partly online. Those are really specific niche programs though. Um, no other programs are available online. York is very much like an in-person, mostly full-time at the graduate level anyway. The thing with part-time is that there are a handful of programs that are part-time in the sense that courses are available at night, on weekends, or maybe one or two online. Those are Master of Education, Master of Human Resources Management, Public Policy Administration and Law. They're really the ones that you can do while working a full-time 9 to 5. There's other programs that allow part-time, but it's part-time in terms of commitment to the program. So it's maybe 8 to 10 hours a week instead of full-time, but the classes that you have to take are only available in the middle of the day. So it's like, okay, you're taking one course per term, but it's Wednesday, like 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. kind of thing.
Right.
So if you've got a flexible job, great. But part-time doesn't necessarily mean night, essentially.
Got it. Thank you. I'm not seeing a lot more questions coming through, so I'm just going to take a moment to remind students that our team in the Academic Pathways office, if you have any further questions, we will get our email address into the chat as well. But if you have any questions after today or you require any support, whether that be with diploma to degree pathways or master's and grad studies, always just get in touch with us and we can definitely assist you. I was trying to find out about a good GPA cutoff for the MASC computer science. Sort of like when you look up undergrad programs and they show you last year's cutoff. I know the application has more stuff other than your grades, but what do you think would look good for admission?
Gotcha. Okay. So computer science, it's the electrical engineering computer science department has multiple master's programs. So there's the MSc in computer science or the MASc, Master of Applied Science in Electrical and Computer Engineering. So I'm thinking we mean MSc computer science. So we'll go with that. If not, correct me and we'll go from there. But for the MSc in computer science, the cutoff is is B plus, 77 or above in your last 2 years. Now, York doesn't publish like acceptance rates or what was last year's incoming GPA. There's just a lot of factors around, um, there's different buckets of applications like domestic, international, regular AI, like there people who finish their app, people who don't. If you were a domestic student, like a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, 75 to 77 as a cutoff or above is I would apply with that. That's a decent application as long as your app is well-rounded, you've got really good references, a strong statement showing exactly why you want to do the program. If someone was an international student, the sheer volume of interest internationally in the program, um, I would say probably 80 or above for international. Um, there's kind of the same amount of spots for domestic international in that particular program, but we're talking like hundreds of applications internationally. So it would really depend on that. On a grad app, other than grades, research is always good if you're, working with a professor on that. Any kind of research experience. I don't know that many computer science degrees have an undergrad thesis. That's not expected, it's just a bonus. Um, Great references, definitely. And just when you're writing the statement, I mean, watch the YouTube video for sure, but make sure it is clear why you're applying to this program at York and that you have a clear and strong reason for applying to this program, following it through, and how it fits into your future plans. So nothing generic, that kind of, so really references and statement after grades, but yeah,
Makes sense.
ultimately, um, okay.
Is the linguistic studies program similar to a speech pathology program?
No, in that it's theoretical. So it's not like a training program like a speech pathology um, program would be. It's doing research on the theory of linguistics and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think with speech pathology, if you're looking to be a speech pathologist, you need to connect with I think it might not be exactly accurate, but I was just doing this for a student yesterday, but I think it's CALSPO. And it's the governing body of like speech pathologists in Ontario, and they can definitely direct you to the programs that would qualify you to be like a registered speech pathologist or speech therapist, I guess. Okay.
I just want to give one last mention. I briefly mentioned it before, but I can't emphasize enough, like the college degree is completely equal to a university degree. We have a ton of Seneca grads who come to York for grad studies every year. So have got that question at this event in previous years, so just really want to emphasize it's completely the same. Yeah, and I think, excuse me, by virtue of maybe smaller class sizes, you might have the opportunity to have like really great references. So.
Um, I have one more question that was sent. It says my application was submitted since September 10th, 2024. So I'm assuming, can you just clarify perhaps, are you asking like when you could receive like an offer? I think on one of your slides it said February.
So grad apps didn't open till October 15th for
Oh,
fall 2025. So I'm wondering if this person applied for a winter or summer program or if they applied for a transfer. But if they email their York reference number to FGS Apply, I can look up their file and let them know kind of what next steps are.
yeah, perfect. And if it's undergrad as well, you can always email academic pathways at Seneca Polytechnic.ca. I'll just pop that in the chat back to you. Yeah, and I'll answer your question about the reference number as well. So I'm not seeing any more questions coming in. Get that in. Okay. So I think we'll end it there. I just wanted to say thank you so much, Eileen, for taking the time to be with us today. This information is super helpful. And like out of all of the sessions that we've done over the past 3 days, I can't emphasize enough the importance of looking at those resources, like you said, about the statement of interest, and really sort of being able to link yourself to the program, and why you're a good fit, and how this is going to, you know, be a part of your long-term professional and academic goals. It's something that keeps coming up. So very important. Yeah, and to anyone else, follow our attendees. Thank you for joining. Be sure to check the events page if there's any other sessions that you are interested in attending. And if there's any sessions that you missed, all of these are recorded and they will be posted there for you to view. Just want to take the time to wish everyone a great day, and we'll see everyone soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.